Okay then, so we'll get started, and maybe if people join, they will be able to follow along. So today we're gonna present to you Workast Forum. This is an application that we've been developing for quite a few months. We have some beta customers that have been testing, and we feel like this is the right time to share it with a broader audience. And that's when you guys got an email, or you got like a little banner inside the web application to promote this new feature. So for the agenda today, we're gonna briefly describe, what can you use forms for, how to add the forms up to a space, how to create a form, how to submit forms in Slack, a set of recommendations, and then we will answer any questions that came up during the webinar. So what can you use forms for? So if you are familiar with something like Google Forms or type forms, and you have done surveys, a Workast form is an application around those lines, but specifically for project management and task management. So where can you use a form? I would say here, any repetitive task that you would normally get by email or someone slacking you, and it's just always the same task. It's just like, hey, can you please, give me this data report, or can you please, we need to fix this issue or change this copy on our website, or can you create this article for the internal wiki? So for anything that is repetitive, a form always allows you to capture exactly the information that you need from your team members or your customers, and force them to think in a structured way. Instead of just sending you like a long email that has like a lot of text and a big long paragraph, you can just ask for like, I need to know this, I need to know the A, B, and C. So some ideas I just mentioned, but it's like you update your website, set up accounts for new employees. An IT request is very popular, like, I need a new keyboard, or I'm having problems in my connecting to my internal network. Um, Design requests, can you please design a banner for this campaign? Social media posts, if you have a social media manager and you want them to share an article, you can just create a form that say, hey, send me the link of the article, tell me what you want to write on the tweet or Facebook post, and I will take care of that. HR requests, leave expenses, anything that has to do with managing people in your company. Bug reports, if you have if you're a software company, you can use that as well. Customer support. So things that you normally handle by email or Slack, and then the same, you can always create a form to sort of give a structure to those requests. So how do add the forms up to a space? So the first, this is kind of like how we're gonna go. I'm gonna switch out of the presentation now. I'm gonna go straight to our Workast team, where we are going to show you guys how to get started with the forms. So I'm gonna go to our Workast. I'm gonna create a space. We're gonna call this forms demo. And once I create the space, we're gonna find here, there's a little plus icon, and we're gonna click on forms. So what we're doing now, we're adding the forms application to the new space, forms demo. You can go to any existing space, and you should be able to see that little plus here everywhere. And this is able to all accounts. You can be on the free plan or the paid plan. Everyone gets access to this particular app. So when you click on forms, if you don't have any forms created, we're going to create our first form. When we click create form, we actually automatically create a form, and we see that here we have like the preview of what the form looks like. On the right-hand side, we have the form properties. So for example, we can change this for customer support, and then that will update the title of the form. And then we can add a description, submit any issues you have with your application, and that will be there. So the next thing we're gonna do now is be adding a question to this form. So what do you want to find out from your customer? So we can start with a short text type of question. So we click add question, and then we add the question, and then on the right hand side again it says question properties. So where we can see, we can modify, for example, let's say customer ID. If you have like a customer ID, enter your customer ID. And then we can make this required, because you actually want to know who's the customer that's submitting the request. Then we're gonna add another, maybe a paragraph, and we're gonna put this as We're going to make this question to be, summary of your issue. And this is a required question as well. And then we can ask for, we can ask for, like, let's say the priority or like the severity of this particular issue. So we're going to give them a multiple choice option. So we click on add, and here we can define, let's put here priority, and then we're going to put, low, medium, and high. So here we define the options, and then if you click here, you can see how you can build that combo or that set of options that people can choose to define the priorities in a particular issue. We can make this a required field, and you can use these buttons. All questions, if you click on them, you can go back and edit any of the properties of the question. So if you want to move this up and down, we can, for example, move this up here. This is a very simple form. This is just to give you guys an idea of like what kind of forms can you build. There's more options. You can, for example, set a date. So we could say, okay, I want, what is the due? When is this due? And then your customers will go to select an option from a calendar. We also have ways to do attachments. People can upload a file, enter a number, and a few more of that kind of questions. I think you guys can play around with it and find the form that really fits your need. We have multiple type of fields, and you can play around also saying if you want, for example, set a default value, that means that summary goes here. So that way this field already has some data as soon as you see it. So let's say that we have the form done, and this is ready to, you want to share this with some of your customers to see what's their reaction and maybe try it out. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to save this form. There are two important things that here up on the screen. We have the status, which currently is a draft, and the privacy, which currently says only members of Health or Fitness, which is my my workspace test, my current workspace. So because this is a customer support form and you probably want anyone to access, if you only put only members from Health or Fitness, that means that when they see the form, they're going to be required to log in. If they are customers and they're not part of your Workast the Workast account, then they're not going to be able to submit the form. So in this particular case, we're going to make it that anyone can submit this form. And we're going to change the status to publish, so that now we're going to get a link for the form. So if I click on this link, open form, it's going to show us the form that we just created, which is this. So if I get this link and I'm going to go in an incognito window, which means that I'm not going to be logged in, and this is what any customer will see, you can still see the form. So a customer could come in, we're going to put the customer ID 12345. The priority is high. The summary is my website is down. We need this for today. So we submit the form, and this is what a customer will see and do. We go back to Workast, we go back to our space where we created the form. We go back to the task section, and what we're going to see, we're going to see a task. The task says form request, customer support. So form request will always be at the beginning of the task, and then customer support is the name of the form that we created just then. So if we click on that particular customer support task, we're going to see the customer ID, the priority, and the summary, and what is this due. You will see my name here because when I submitted the form, I was actually doing with my account logged in. If I do it without being logged in, it would just show the data that people complete. So I'm going to create another form now. I'm going to show you what a form will look like when you want to do it, when you want a form for your internal team. So I'm going to create another example here. We're going to call this IT support. IT support, we're going to do very quickly. We're going to create, summary. Here. Summary, and we're going to put this details. We're going to put multiple choice one. We're going to call this the category. And then we're going to put here software, hardware, and network. And I'm going to save this form, but this time I'm going to I'm going to publish it, but this time I'm going to leave the privacy as only member of Health or Fitness. So when I click on open form, because I'm logged in, I'm in the same sort of Chrome tab, Chrome account, I can see the form. But if I copy this link and open on an incognito window, which means that I'm not logged in anymore, and I try to open the form, the form is not able to, it's showing me this error, meaning that only your employees, so people that work, or your contractors, people that work in your company will be able to see this particular form. So going back to the agenda, we know how to add the form to the space. We know how to create the form, which I showed you. So I'm going to show you guys now how to submit forms inside of Slack, which I think is a very, very cool and exciting feature. Because what happens if you're in a conversation and you're in a channel of Slack, and someone is asking you, for example, you have an IT channel and someone is asking you, hey, I have a problem with my network, I have a problem with my software, I have a problem with my hardware, can you please help me with this? And you're the IT person. Normally you would try to help them on Slack, but what you can do is like, hey, why don't you submit a form using Slack? So if you type /forms, what you're going to see here is all the forms that are published within your workspace. So we have the internal issue, we have a customer support, and we have IT support. IT support is the one that we just created. So if I click on submit request, instead of opening a new tab, instead of going to your Chrome browser, you're actually able to see and submit the form inside of Slack. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put here, can connect to the VPN, no more, I see an issue while connecting, and this is a network problem. I do submit, your request has been submitted. If we go back now to Workast, if we go back to the space forms demo, we're gonna see now the second task called form request, IT request, and if I click on it, I'm going to see my name because I submitted the form, and we're gonna see the details that I submitted here. So this is about it. I think this is a very simple, basic example of what can you use forms for and how can you use and create forms. I think hopefully this is giving you guys some ideas of what can you do in your own company, in your organization, and how can you use forms to streamline processes and workflows. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to give you guys some recommendations. So we believe that, if you feel like you have to create the forms many times, like the same forms over and over, and you need to capture the same information from multiple projects, we do not recommend you to create the same form many times on every single space. What I actually would recommend you is to create a space called triage, where you will create one form, and then every task that comes in, you will then allocate the task to the space that corresponds. But we don't recommend you to create the same form over and over, because when people type, let's say, /forms in their Slack, they're going to be able to see the same form many times here. So it's better to always just have one form per request. Once a form is published, that link is, if you don't share the link, that link is not self-discovery. So you have to make sure that you can include that link in your emails or in your wikis or your website with your customers. And finally, the forms are just a way of also to bring transparency to your process. I think it's forms, especially, we've been using forms internally, and it's always just a great way of other people in your organization to really understand what do you need, what information do you really need to perform a task. When someone has a problem, they tend to focus on a particular problem and they don't give you the context, like, hey, well, what about this or what about that? So with a form, you can really force people to think about, can you briefly give me all this information? If you give me all this information all together, I will be able to perform that task or support you. Okay, so I think, this is the basics. I didn't, there's more little things and little improvements and things that you can do with forms. Like you can do attachments. You can add your customers or your team to add attachments to their forms. There is you can ask them to your number. So there's a few more details, but I feel like I wanted to kind of cover the basics. It was very simple, I think, demo. So I'm gonna see if you guys have any questions or if you want to ask me anything. If you want to make any comments, there is the Q&A button that is right on the webinar. So I'm gonna move here. We're gonna stay on the Q&A. And then we have a question here from one of you. It says, if you create the form in a particular channel, is it only available in that channel? No. So when you create the form, let's say how I created the form here on the forms demo. I'm going to repeat the question because maybe I said it too fast. If you create the form in a particular channel, is it only available in the channel? And this probably has to do with how I show you how it works on Slack. So when you create a form, regardless of where you create a form, in which space, even if the space is, you can make a space private. It could be part of like a, invite only type of space. But once you publish the form, anyone will be able to see the form within Slack or with their link. So how I type here /forms, I can do this from, let's say, my direct message with Barb, and I'm gonna click here /forms, and I'm gonna be able to see the same forms because when the forms are published, they are published for anyone within the team to see them. They're not just limited to one particular channel. So the good thing is that if you have, and the reason we did it this way is because if you have like a channel called IT and you only have your IT people, or it's a chat, it's called a channel called HR or finance, you may don't really want to have everyone on that channel. You probably want only like that immediate team. You don't want to add too much noise. And that's really the beauty, I think, from forms is that you can continue to have your core channels with your core team, and then people can just submit the forms wherever they are. Hopefully that answered the question, but at the same time, hopefully the feature that you are after, that's kind of how it works. And that was the reason behind it. Then here it says another question, can you assign the form to an individual? That's a great question. And I think, we thought about it. It's not something that we have implemented right now. When the task gets created, the tasks are actually just assigned to anyone. You have to go on the task, you have to click on the task and you can assign it. I think we would love for you guys to start using the forms application more and share with us some use cases. And there is a few things that we can do. We can do like round robin. We can assign a person, we could define who do you want to assign the task for. We can say, give me a set of users and we assign you one task to each person. There's a few ways to solve that problem. I think initially we wanted to just observe and kind of look for your feedback. So once you start using it and you have a use case, please feel free to share with us. We will definitely incorporate it in our roadmap, but that's something that we want to do. So live. So what do you mean having a triage space? You mean another channel, and should it be public? So no, it doesn't have to be public. So I wanna walk you through. Let's say that we have. Let's say that the forms are HR related. So HR related forms, they're probably very private. You don't want anyone to be able to see those, but you want everyone to submit the form, but you don't want anyone to be able to see them because you could be asking for some very personal information like your social security number or submit a contract, or you can be discussing, salaries. So I'm going to create a space called HR. I'm going to put here only by invite. So that means that nobody can see this channel, only this space or channel, like nobody can see it, only myself and anyone that invite to this particular space. And I'm going to create a form very quickly just to kind of show you guys how this works. We're going to create this called leave request. We're going to put here question, start date. And then we're going to put here end date, and then we're going to put a little paragraph. We're going to put these comments. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to make the form only members of Helpful Fitness. Remember, Helpful Fitness is my test account, my test team. And I'm going to make this status published. So now this form is live. But if I go to Slack, which I showed you before, and we're gonna do this again. We're gonna type /forms from anywhere. I'm here on a direct message, could be in any channel. I'm gonna type /forms, and we're gonna see here the leave request. So I can see the form, I can submit the form, but I'm not gonna be able to see the task. I'm not gonna be able to see the space. Let's say that it's not myself. Let's say that it's another employee from your team. They're gonna be able to submit the form, but they're not gonna be able to see all the other tasks related to this They're not going to be able to do anything else. The task stays on your private space, on your private channel, and people are only able to submit. That's it. Hopefully this makes sense. That's live. Then we have another question here. Does the form integrate with other existing support software? That's a great question. As the moment, this is our first iteration, this is our first version of the software. I'm going to read that question again. Sorry, I tend to read very fast. Do these forms integrate with the existing support software? So I imagine that the question refers to maybe integrating with something like Zendesk or integrating with something like Front or any sort of support, ticketing support system. And the short answer is no, as we speak. What we'll probably be thinking of doing is actually connecting this to Zapier. So maybe having like a Zapier trigger that is like on a form submission, and then you can connect that to something else. That is something that is kind of that we'll be exploring. But again, we decided to kind of focus on this particular use case and core case, and then listen to your feedback. So I'm taking note of these things that you guys are mentioning, and we will be able to continue to evolve the product as more people start using it. But it's a great question. I think it's a great idea, and I can see a lot of potential on our integration like that. Then another question says, I assume you have a library of videos like this. Could you quickly share the access to these videos? Yes, so I'm going to share after this. We are actually automatically recording this webinar. So I'm going to be sharing the link to this webinar again. I'm going to be sharing the link to this presentation that you guys have seen on my screen right now. And definitely there's a help article and there's much more videos as well, covering not only forms, but general use of Workast. So that for sure, I will follow up with all the attendance after this. If I said, and then here's another question. If I set a publish form as a draft for some time, and then I publish it again, does the form link change? No, the short answer is no. And what this person is referring to is, let's say that we go to let's go to our forms demo. We have the customer support form. And let's say that I'm going to turn this form as a draft. And then someone decides to, and then we make some changes, and then we end up publishing the form again. The form link will always be the same. So even if you make changes to the form, even if you add new questions, even if you remove questions from the form link will always stay the same, which makes sure that, if you put your form links in an email or you put them in on your wiki or your website, you're guaranteed that as long as the form is live, anyone that clicks on the link will be able to see the form. If you edit the form, you're gonna see the updated form. You don't get new links all the time. It's just always gonna be the same. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. With request/forms, can you force an approval as part of the workflows? I'm gonna guess a little bit about what this actually means. I can imagine that I'm trying to think how the workflow would look like. Let me see if I can enable, maybe people, I actually have to check how we can enable people to talk, but maybe we can take this conversation offline just to exactly know what you mean. I think maybe I'll take down your name and I can reach out by email. But there is no sort of like, there's nothing to force. Once people submit the form, then it's up to the, let's say that someone submit the form for IT support or customer support, like the task will be created. What happened after that, it will really depends on someone looking at the task and, contacting the person that submitted the form and be like, hey, no, this is not approved or this is approved. Like once the task is created, what happened after that, it just depends on every team and every person. Like we don't have any sort of triggers or anything that happen. Like you can say, oh, well, no, this is not approved, and then go back to that or anything like that. I think maybe the question is going in that direction. But I'm happy to take this conversation offline and maybe understand a little more of the workflow. Cool. Excellent. Well, we'll wait a few more minutes. If anyone else has a question, I put an hour for this webinar. In my head, I knew it could be 30 minutes, but you never know how long the Q&A session will go. But I mean, hopefully you all got to enjoy this, and hopefully you all got to understand a little more about this feature. Again, I think this is a really solid first version. We were in beta for some time. We are now fully launched. And there's a lot of more features that can be built on top of this. I think it's just a matter of really trying to understand. So I really encourage you guys, if you start using it and you feel like there's a particular use case that is not being covered, or you wish you could do this extra thing with the forms, reach out to me. I will be sending an email with the video that we just did, with the webinar, with the Help Center articles, with this presentation, and that will be my personal email, so you guys can reach back to me and ask me any questions, and we can even set up a call if that's necessary. But I think this is a great feature. It's a great complementary for what Workast does today, and trying to, again, solve this problem of, how to drive conversation, how to improve workflows, and actually just get people more organized. So I think we have one more question here. Yeah, okay. All right then, thank you very much, everyone. Please stay safe, please take care of you and your family, and I will be following up by email with everyone. It's been a pleasure doing this, and hopefully we get to do more of this. Have a great day. Bye-bye.